Today's episode of The Bitcoin Show is brought to you by bit-pay.com and Mt. Gox, mtgox.com and tradehill.com and usgoldcoins.com, 1-800-HOT-COIN. Hello and welcome to the Bitcoin Show. This is episode 34, and what a week it has been. Today joining me is Adrianne Jeffries, who you probably recognize the name, maybe not the face, but Adrianne Jeffries is a reporter for the New York Observer, and specifically their BetaBeat blog, which is a daily blog about technology and specifically Silicon Alley, which is New York City. Right. Welcome, Adrianne. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're fans of you. We've never met before today, but we talk all the time because we're always in the Bitcoin realm. Tell me though, the reason I initially contacted you and I wanted to ask you to join us is because I wanted to find out what it was like as a journalist to be assigned a story about Bitcoin. But you corrected me and said that you weren't assigned this story. So tell us how that happened.
Right, so it's actually hard to trace where exactly I heard about Bitcoin the first time. It was around, it was the, I subscribed to this tech newsletter called Launch, which is done by Jason Calacanis in Silicon Valley. And they did a big story about Bitcoin that was really sensational. And it was like, Bitcoin, the most dangerous person-to-person project that could destroy the world. And so, of course, I had to read that. And then I, read about it. And then, like everybody else, it's such a fantastic, weird, cool, sticky phenomenon that I just couldn't stop reading about it. And then, some other, just sources that I talked to on a regular basis were asking me about it, sort of like, what do you know about this? And so I got the feeling that there was some interest in it and I should write about it. So I pitched it, and I pitched it for the paper. So I do most of my writing at BetaBeat, which is a blog about the New York tech scene and about news of interest to the New York tech scene. So but then I also do some tech stories for the weekly paper, the weekly edition of the New York Observer. So I pitched this story for the paper because I thought it was interesting, because Wall Street obviously is of interest to everyone who lives in New York, and this had this is like the potential. It was like, is Wall Street finally going to be disrupted by the internet, like the way so many other industries have? The
record industry, and
the
film,
exactly. The newspaper industry.
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the one you're in.
Totally. So this was the original idea of the story, and then it was just like, it was so early that it ended up being more of a Bitcoin explainer, and like, this is happening, and then there still hasn't been that much mainstream reporting on it, although there's been a lot, and I feel like it's still a ripe subject. And I pitched another Bitcoin story which ran today, which was about the next phase of the Bitcoin market, which is this more sophisticated kind of derivatives trading, which is a big step for Bitcoin because it frees up liquidity in the market and makes it potentially make more sense for vendors to actually use it, because they can kind of adjust for the volatility of the currency. And I was surprised that they said yes, because I thought they would say, no, that's too geeky. We can't run two geeky stories about this geeky thing
the one from
so close in a row.
The one about derivatives, the current one.
Yeah, the one today.
This is the second one. You mean you pitched this with me? Because you've been writing stories every day.
Right, so I've been blogging about it constantly because I just have it in my news feed, and like there's so much drama all the time that it's always a great story.
It's a soap opera.
So I've had all the blog posts, but yeah, this is the second big feature, that I did a significant amount of reporting on.
So this appeared in the print version?
This was in the paper, yeah.
Why don't you bring up my laptop and show?
I should have brought a copy of the paper.
Oh, well, we can see it here. There it is, full screen. So yeah, this is BetaBeat, as you can see, from the Observer. And you've got a lot of things on today's headline. Pony up haters, how 4chan gave birth to bronies.
Yeah, we've got a couple of funny features today. That story is about this group of 4chaners who are big fans of the show My Little Pony. It's kind of a fun read. And the other big story we have today is about this diet craze that is become popular among entrepreneurs in New York.
That's
in
the
tech
iHack,
scene.
the Body Electric,
Right.
the 4-Hour Body by
Right.
Timothy Ferris.
That's also a really fun read. There's fun stories on there. Mine is like actually probably the densest.
The most serious.
Yeah.
Oh, so those you didn't write all those. You wrote the Bitcoin.
No. Yeah.
You can't write everything.
Right.
Yeah. So this is you see that? That's the rough trades, digital derivatives hit the Bitcoin market as Wall Street bankers take interest.
Right.
So what's been happening in the Bitcoin world? Obviously, the big news, mybitcoin.com obviously is rocking the world of Bitcoin, and the third largest exchange accidentally erasing their entire wallet.
Right.
It's crazy. It's all about security. And what I've been saying is that, and it's affecting the price. Obviously, it's like going nuts right now.
Mm-hmm.
Good time to buy. Maybe if you still have faith in Bitcoin, it's a good time to buy. A lot of people are losing faith apparently because of that. Especially people who don't really understand. They're having trouble separating the idea of the security issues of where they're storing their Bitcoin versus Bitcoin itself. The currency itself hasn't been affected, but the banks or the wallets or whatever these
Right.
exchange sites and things being hacked.
Human error.
And human error.
Malice.
Yeah, and human malice, exactly.
Possibly.
So that's why, like, what I say is the three biggest problems Bitcoin faces, in my opinion, are number one, security. Number two is, what's number two? Security. Number two is, I forget. Number three is currency risk. I'll have to come back
Government
to that.
intervention?
No, I don't think. Not yet. No. What is the second thing I always say? I'm like drawing a blank. Anyway, whatever. Wait. Stop. Shoot. Anyway, it'll come back to me. So, security is the first concern, and that is because, like you said, malice, mistakes, even technologists have screwed up and accidentally deleted their wallets. So
Right.
there really isn't an excellent way to recommend, especially for lay people who are not geeks.
Right.
They're the ones who are at risk because they just don't know how to manage it. And it's not, I mean, you can create a how-to tutorial, but it's a very big project, and if you mess one thing up, even the technologists mess one thing up and they lose their
Right.
wallet. So it's dangerous in that sense right now. The way I look at it is just like the Wild Wild West. We've discovered gold. There was a gold rush. Now we're
Right.
seeing, stagecoach heists and bank robberies and things like that.
Right.
We're getting used to it. Early adopters are like the early pioneers. A lot of them fell
I like
on
that
their
metaphor.
way.
That's good.
It's true, right? So
Either brave or foolish.
exactly, yeah. So security. Oh, I know the second one. Finally, it came to me. The first one is security. The second one is liquidity, the ability to buy and
Right,
sell
and
it.
this is where derivatives come in.
Exactly, yeah. So security, liquidity, and the currency risk, which means that merchants, if Mesigrill needs $8.95 for that, whatever
Right.
pita, then they need $8.95. They don't want it to drop 10% and have it be $7.95 by
Right.
the next day. It won't work in retail.
And this is also where derivatives come in, because you can imagine if the exchanges add some mechanism for negotiating, like a futures contract where you can say, I'll buy X of this supply using Bitcoins and lock in today's price of Bitcoins.
So
But
you've been
plan
talking
to
about.
trade in the future.
So you've been talking to these people today, recently, in the last days. What is the latest news on that front? You know more than I do about this because you've been in touch
About
with these people.
derivatives?
Yeah, I mean the new exchanges that are already up or that are coming soon, that are in testing or whatever, that are going to offer these derivatives. I mean,
Right.
what's the status of it?
Well, I should make a caveat first and say that while I was researching the story, there's just so much going on that I can't say with authority that these are the only exchanges doing it, and this is the only, because it's possible that I just didn't find it because there's so much going on. But as far as I know, there are no exchanges that formally offer margin trading or short selling or some of these other derivative products. They're mostly sticking to buying and selling, and like there's some advanced selling tools, like being able to put in an order for a dark pool, being able to put in a kill fill order where the order tests for buying Bitcoins at some price, and if it finds Bitcoins at that price, it fills the order, and if it doesn't, it terminates it. So that is available, but I think most of the major exchanges are saying that they're going to offer some usually options and margin trading, which is where the exchange will basically spot you some Bitcoins so that you can trade with, so that smaller traders can execute trades with much larger entities. And I think the exchange that's farthest along in this is Ruxum, because they had is Camp BX, which is the one that's based in Atlanta, the one that's based in the U.S. And so they're taking a real chance by, I spoke to the founder, and he said they had talked to the state of Georgia and to see how they could be in compliant with U.S. laws when the dollar is involved. And he's confident that they can navigate within.
Yeah, that's Kiyor. I forgot his name, but Camp BX. He was a guest on our show the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. Okay. It's hard to watch everything.
So maybe I'm repeating what he said.
But no, that's exactly what he said. Basically, he said options are coming soon, starting with margins. And the example for people who don't know what that means, basically his simple analogy was, if you have $100 in your account, then you qualify for this, then they would actually spot you another 100, so you'd actually be able to buy $200 worth of coins, even though you only have $100 to start with.
Right.
So but that's not available yet, but coming soon.
Right. And he was saying for that he was expecting to offer margin trading and short selling within 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how long it takes them to build up enough deposits that they have enough liquidity to spot people money.
Right.
So they might be the first to market with a formal exchange with derivatives. Of course, there are people trading derivatives person to person on some of the over-the-counter sites and in IRC. There's also a site that I found called BitOption, which was live for a little while, and they offered a couple features. I think they had short selling available, but then they took it down and have made an announcement that they're working on, for some reason they had to take it down. They had some technical issues, and now they're working feverishly to get it back up, so they could be first.
Interesting. So you mentioned Ruxum, and I know that's is that in alpha, beta, invite only, or what's the status?
I think it's still in invite only.
Invite only. I think I have an invite, but I haven't had time to look at it. But I will.
Yeah.
So have you?
You should. Have I used it?
Have you? Yeah.
I've checked it out. I have an invite. If you have an invite, that's good, because I think they're extending some lifetime discount to beta users, and actually cool. Right now there's no fees. I think still.
Can use a lifetime discount.
Yeah. I haven't bought Bitcoin on an exchange. I bought some Bitcoin at Mezagrill, which have since disappeared.
Yes.
But I might try it out. I'm no plans to make Bitcoin investment right now, but it's a possibility.
Yeah. So have you talked with Ruxum about what types of options they're going to offer?
I have, yeah, and they've said somewhere on their website they say they're going to offer options. When I spoke to the founder, he said much the same thing. They're looking for more liquidity in the market. They think the Bitcoin economy needs to get bigger as a whole before they start offer derivatives trading. And he actually had sort of an opposite view, where he thought that more people needed to start using Bitcoin before the financial sector of Bitcoin evolves further.
Using it in what sense? You mean just for normal purchases, or just investments, or both? Right.
Just normal purchases.
Oh, normal purchases.
People using it as a currency, and and getting faith in it as a currency before there's more trading of it.
Yeah, I remember Camp BX saying that they're not going to allow everyone to do this margin trading. It's going to be based on, you have to have a minimum balance and a minimum, some experience or track record. They're not going to just let a novice come in there and do it, because they'll lose their shirt. Right. Somebody has to sort of prove that they have a little bit of experience and they know what they're doing. Right. Because it seems dangerous, because if Bitcoin falls like it has this week, all it takes is some bad press, as we know, and then all the people that are a little squeamish just run,
Right.
and that affects the price. But in the end, it seems to always kind of come back up. We'll see.
Right.
The future is unpredictable. But so what else is going on? Like how have you talked to the people at the Polish exchange about?
I have not gotten in touch with them.
Okay.
They said something publicly, and I read the discussion on Hacker News. I don't know if you're familiar with this forum.
Yeah.
So that's where I got all my information about them. I haven't reached out to them. I think my understanding is that the owner of the exchange had it hosted with Amazon's cloud hosting service, and then he was switching servers. And apparently Amazon, when you turn off your machine, will delete everything as like an incentive to keep your servers running all the time. And so this guy, I guess, didn't know this or just screwed up, and 17,000 Bitcoins are now permanently gone from the Bitcoin ecosystem, is my understanding.
Yeah, that's what I read too.
And then I think he was trying to sell the domain for the amount of his loss.
Yeah.
And some people were saying that would be to compensate people for their deposits.
Yeah.
So
it's just so freaky. Different things about it that like Ed and I's loss with my Bitcoin was greater than the third largest exchange. Is just blows my mind. And the fact that somebody who's technical enough to run an exchange, the third largest exchange, can make an error like that. I mean, it's just human error.
Right.
And these are very, very technical people. I mean, obviously in hindsight, it's so easy to criticize.
Right.
But the most technical people can just make a mistake or misjudgment. Usually, it's not really making a mistake, but it's a misunderstanding about how something works. Like the guy that lost, I forgot what it was, $400,000 worth of Bitcoin at one point. He had followed all these steps, and his mistake was he misunderstood the way the client worked, and that you have to have the client closed before you copy the wallet file in and out. A lot of people don't know that. And as I understand it, this was the story that he actually had it open and he copied it out and then somehow closed it, and then the backup, then he deleted it. He did a secure, wipe of his hard drive to secure it, and then the backup didn't work after he had put the coin in it. So, not the proper, misunderstanding of how the software worked, and not the proper testing. Obviously, you test it with a millionth of a cent a few times in and out, so you know for sure what's happening before you put all your money on it, of course. And then also splitting it into multiple, not just one wallet, but several, 4 or 5 different wallets. Mm-hmm. But these are things that, super technical people are making mistakes and losing their Bitcoin. So the average Fred and Marge in Toledo, who can barely work a mouse, I mean, is there any hope for them at this point? That's the question.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about Bitcoin is there's no barrier to entry.
Yeah.
And that was something that I said in my story today, was that it's attracting a lot of people who know just enough to be dangerous. Mm-hmm. Like me, I thought I knew enough to go ahead and buy some Bitcoin, and then I ended up losing money for myself and the couple of people I had taken orders for. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and that's true on the technical side, I think, and also true on the investor side. Because a lot of the people I quoted in my story were like, people working toward a PhD in finance, or someone who had worked on Wall Street in like a foot soldier kind of position, or people who worked like tangent to the finance industry. And it was like, you're pretty familiar with it, but with Wall Street, it's so professionalized, and people have higher levels of knowledge and more experience, and also more people, because you're working with firms and they're checking each other, and then so
you're kind of doing it solo. It's really like being a pioneer, an early adopter. You're absolutely like a scout going ahead of everybody else, and you're on your own in a lot of ways.
Everybody else is going to learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, exactly, in a big way. I guess that's what it is with anything brand new, and so it's considered a feature, the fact that it's libertarian, it's the people's money, and it's all yours and under your control. But there's a responsibility, obviously, that all falls on your shoulders. So if you're a high tech geek and you know the ins and outs of it, even then you can make mistakes. Mostly those people are secure, but even then you can make mistakes. So, yeah, that's my concern. Is obviously it's not going to get adopted widely until we solve the number one problem, security. That has to be solved, and security, like you say, from yourself, security from yourself making a mistake technically, and security from the bad guys who are trying to steal it, and security from just loss, theft, mistakes, anything.
Right. So I think this is actually going to be the next evolution of the Bitcoin finance industry, is people who will, like a ratings agency kind of, something to fulfill that role.
Yeah.
So you can know who to trust and who not to trust. And then places like Camp BX, where they're prioritizing being above board and being accountable and having they have like a picture of their office on their website. Like, we have an address. You can come find us if you need to.
I'm going to go visit and see if it's real. But actually, they're going to be here, though.
Right, they just took it from Google Images.
Yeah, yeah, right, just a random building from Dubai or something. No, they've been on the show. They're actually going to be here, which is actually a good time to plug. Is it 3 weeks from today? It's the Bitcoin. It's 2 weeks from today. What am I saying? 2 weeks from today. It's the first Bitcoin conference and World Expo, which is going to be right here in New York City. We're sponsoring it here, Only One TV, and the Bitcoin Show. And it's going to be August 19th through 21st. So there's going to be like a little pre-conference festivities on Thursday the 18th if you come in early. And then it's like Friday the 19th, all day Saturday. We're going to have some amazing keynote speakers in there. We're actually confirming a lot of them today. Gavin Andresen, of course, is going to be here. And there are 3 or 4 other really big names that I'll be updating on a little bit later today. But if you go to bitcoinconference.com, if you got that up there, bitcoinconference.com. I think it has to be all lowercase. There's some glitch there. But anyway, bitcoinconference.com, all lowercase. You'll see all about the conference and the program and the speakers, and you can register. It's 2 Bitcoins right now for admission, which is like nothing, like cheaper than a movie in Manhattan.
Oh,
right?
well, you should register today.
Register today, yeah, you have to. And you got to book your flights today too, because it's 2 weeks out. And but then there are still tables available. There are vendor tables now. We're actually going to be moving the venue to a larger place, so that'll be updated probably by the time you're seeing this. So go to bitcoinconference.com and register today. You can pay by Bitcoin. If you don't have Bitcoin, just call us and we can make special arrangements to register you and accept cash at the door and so on. So anyway, so that's cool. That is going to be like people. By the way, people are for sure flying here from China, Africa, Central South America, the West Coast, Australia, London, everywhere.
Yeah, just looking at my story today and seeing where the traffic was coming from.
Isn't it amazing?
It was so much more international than anything we usually do.
It really makes it drives it home that how we're always clear that we're not a local show or a national show. We're a global network because the internet just is, and Bitcoin is the global currency. It's just there are statistics, but a minority. A pretty small minority in the big picture of things of users are in the United States. It's totally global. So eventually I think people will start thinking of things in terms of the price of Bitcoin if they're really into it,
Yeah.
and the price kind of stabilizes or whatever.
Right.
So some people are already thinking in Bitcoin terms, like, well, that would be 2 Bitcoin or something. They know right away,
Yeah,
of course
everyone has an app on their phone.
Yeah, as long as
mine is broken now, but
as long as it's not changing every hour, that's the craziness. But from bad press. But so yeah, I think you're right. This is the next era. I mean, the early one was mining. Oh wow, how cool is this? The next one is wow, this is the future. Let's invest in it. And that still exists, but now it's like, oh wow, we hit our first big pothole in the road, and that is security. This is not going to work until security is solved. But I know for sure there are a lot of projects that are addressing this, that are in development, that are coming real soon.
Yeah, I've heard of several off the record.
Yeah, I mean, there's some that are very public and they're open source, which is a beautiful thing. I'm all about security and open source security, because then Bitcoin itself is open source, and so there's no security better than open source, in my opinion. I mean, Linux itself, and the most secure operating system is the most secure software in the world is open source, because all eyes can review it, everybody can see it. So these new open source, super super clever, sophisticated security mechanisms that are under development now, they'll be out within I'm predicting within months, really. And when that happens, I think confidence will be restored, because people will see that, okay, wow, this is cool. I don't have to trust anybody. I'm actually, I actually control my own Bitcoins, and a secured, encrypted copy is backed up on the server of my choice, and in multiple servers and things like that. So even if Amazon S3 goes down or whatever, you'll still have access to it. So that's absolutely essential. So, how have the views been? Like, what's the reaction to these stories? Because I noticed, like, on the blog, you're like blogging about Bitcoin every day. You're just like Ms. Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, there's so much news. I think my editor made a joke to me about how much I was blogging about Bitcoin. So they might be getting Bitcoin saturation on the editorial side, but people read it. It's the Bitcoin stories did really well. The story today is our biggest story on the site, and like I said, all the traffic is coming in from all over the world, and I'm getting a lot of emails from readers who want to know more.
That's cool. That's really important. Well, let me take a break really quick and thank our sponsors, because obviously we wouldn't be here without our sponsors' generous support of the Bitcoin community and the Bitcoin show and Only One TV. So we want to thank first BitPay. They call it BitPay. It's actually bit-pay.com. bit-pay.com. BitPay is a really cool system for merchant processing. It's basically kind of like your PayPal checkout or Google checkout. It's like a checkout service. It also includes its shopping cart integration if you have an existing shopping cart on your website, or if you don't, you just have a plain old website or blog or whatever. You could have a blog where you sell t-shirts or coffee mugs, whatever you want, and they actually have a basic, like a bare bones shopping cart that's option that's built into. And what it does is you literally just embed this code, a code for each item, and it handles the whole entire shopping cart and the whole checkout. The checkout only accepts Bitcoin. So you can price things in US dollars or Bitcoin, and it automatically handles the whole thing. It gives the person who's the customer a unique Bitcoin address and tells them the amount to send it to, and it handles the whole thing for you. It's really, really cool. And we actually are using it for the Bitcoin conference. So if you go to bitcoinconference.com and you click register now, you'll see those buttons and QR code are coming from bit-pay.com. It's so clever. They were actually guests on the show a while back, and it's just ingenious. I think it's a real innovative way to add Bitcoin. And the other thing is that the merchant who puts this on their site, they get paid in US dollars if they prefer, or Bitcoin, either way. So it's really slick. You can just accept Bitcoin and you get paid in dollars and you're done. It's a no-brainer. So we love bit-pay.com. And Mt. Gox, of course, everybody knows, mtgox.com. They have the they're the oldest, largest Bitcoin exchange site, so you can buy and sell Bitcoin without leaving the comfort of your home. They have the vast majority market share, so everybody's very familiar with Mt. Gox. They've been hacked. They've had their challenges, but they're resilient. They could have run off with the coins like other sites have in the past, and they didn't. They've come back. They have been guests on the show, and they've shown their face and their name, and we know where their address, where they live, and all that. So they're here to stay. They're back with better security, and we definitely appreciate their support. And Trade Hill, obviously, the second largest exchange online, where you can buy and sell Bitcoins again with just by many ways to get money in and out of it, bank wire transfer, whatever, lots of different options. You can buy and sell Bitcoins online at tradehill.com, and you can also they accept euros, so they have. All the sites, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but if you can wire money, you can always have it changed into US dollars. If you send euros, you can have it changed into US dollars. But TradeHill uniquely has its own market in euros. So you can send euros without changing them into US dollars, and they have an actual euro market, which is actually beneficial because you save a lot of money on transferring the fees and transferring it into dollars and then back into euros. So we thank tradehill.com as well. And finally, usgoldcoins.com, which is 1-800-HOT-COIN. US Gold Coins is Andy Gauss's business. He's the host of The Real World of Money here on Only One TV. And this is not Bitcoin. This is if you want to diversify your investments. If you want to invest in something more traditional, or spread your investment out and not keep all your eggs in one basket. If you want to buy rare U.S. gold or silver coins, as otherwise known as numismatic gold and silver coins, this is your guy. He's an expert, and I can totally vouch for his integrity. We've known him for a long time. We started out as fans of his show. He was like our money guru. He's a monetary expert. And then we became customers of his, and now he's actually a sponsor and hosting. He's actually moved his radio show over to Only One TV. So we thank U.S. Gold Coins. If you want to buy, even if you just have questions about it, he's very accessible. If you're in the U.S., it's so easy. Just call 1-800-HOT-COIN. Otherwise, his website is usgoldcoins.com, and we thank Andy Gauss at U.S. Gold Coins for his support. So, what else? What else is going on? Is there? What do you think is the next phase after we get through? I mean, do you think we're going to solve the security problems? Do you see that happening? This is your prediction, your crystal ball.
I hesitate to make that call definitively. I could see it happening. I think it's kind of a test of this idea of like a decentralized, pure animal market capitalism. So I think if there's a demand for secure exchanges that are accountable, and there's no and there's a way to do that without running afoul of national laws, then I could see it happening. Yeah. For sure.
And what about liquidity as the second big challenge? Do you see that being solved in a new, innovative way, or some other way, or how do you see that playing out? Any thoughts on it?
There's people mining Bitcoin still, so the total number of Bitcoins is increasing. So there's naturally that'll naturally add more liquidity. I mean, I don't know. I feel
even more Bitcoins, but I mean, what about liquidity in the sense of if I have Bitcoins and I want cash, or if I have cash and I want Bitcoins?
I see.
I mean, I can go to Mezzy Grill, but well, not this week.
Right. Well, I mean, it seems pretty liquid. If you have Bitcoins, you can easily unload them. It's just a matter of how much you'll get for them. Yeah, I think, it's if it survives this security obstacle, then I think liquidity will come naturally. Yeah.
Cool. And have you any theories on what could solve the problem of currency risk, which, as I was saying, is like if a restaurant, for example, they operate on razor thin margins, and they can't take the risk of the currency losing 10% of its value in a day or two. So that problem of if I need $8.95 worth, I need $8.95 worth. Like, if they accept Bitcoin and it's just Bitcoin, then they don't know. They need the cash the very next day and it's dropped 10%. They're out of luck. So
right. Well, I think I could see this being solved as well, because if the first issues are solved, then Bitcoin will be more stable, and also you'll have some. I mean, like oil is another volatile commodity, and so companies solve that problem with futures contracts. So I could see derivatives coming into play here. And then merchants, there are lots of advantages to using Bitcoin, so there's an incentive to do it. I mean, right now it's just kind of a novelty, but you can avoid fees, you can set up easy ways to pay internationally online. So
basically, you kind of think that this will solve itself as it becomes more secure and more adopted, and the value is just going to keep going up?
Yeah, I guess I think the hive mind will solve all of this, but I think also you, like as a journalist, seeing stories that are media-driven, which Bitcoin is right now, people may lose interest. And if that happens, then I think then the great experiment is over.
Yeah, I can go either way.
If people get bored of it.
Yeah,
but so far it's been not boring at all. So
not boring. Yeah, I mean, do you think do you think the Bitcoin community is losing interest in it because of these problems?
No, I don't think that's happened yet. I'm saying this may be the biggest threat to Bitcoin is losing its novelty and losing its interest.
Because of the security issues? Or
No, just because people are fickle and they're tend to, it's Facebook, oh no, it's Twitter, now it's whatever.
Yeah, it depends on how emotionally or philosophically attached they are to this concept of a...
Right, well that was all the early adopters, but now a lot of the people driving the speculation are, I think, a little more,
just
a little less committed.
Less committed, yeah. Interesting. Okay. And so how at the office when you sit around and talk about Bitcoin, like what's the reaction of your coworkers and other writers? What do they think of Bitcoin?
They find it intriguing. I mean, I went to buy Bitcoin and I was like, all right, who wants Bitcoin? My editor's like, I'll take one. What is it again?
Oh, I thought it was something for lunch.
Yeah, so their understanding is very shallow. They think it's interesting and they have some vague idea of its significance.
No, they understand clearly that they lost it because it was on mybitcoin.com, right?
Yes, the 3 people who bought in do understand this.
Yeah. Wow. So, all right. Well, what would you like to leave the Bitcoin community with? Is there any thought?
Follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, definitely on Twitter. What are you on Twitter?
ADR Jeffries.
ADR Jeffries. So at ADR Jeffries. Okay.
Right. And at BetaBeat.
At BetaBeat as well. And betabeat.com. BetaBeat.com.
Right. I'll be blogging about Bitcoin for the foreseeable future.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank
it was
you,
really fun.
and thank you for
we chat all the time.
such a great
We're always
source.
in chat,
Yeah, I think what was the word I used for you the other day? Indispensable.
Me? Oh, thank you. You are too. Well, we share tips and stuff all the time, right? Yeah. So keep together. All right.
Sure.
Well, thanks for joining us, and
thanks
we'll
for
see you
having
guys
me
tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Thanks. And specifically their BetaBeat blog, which is a daily blog about technology and specifically Silicon Alley, which is New York City. Welcome, Adrianne. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're fans of you. We've never met before today, but we talk all the time because we're always in the Bitcoin realm. Tell me though, the reason I initially contacted you and I wanted to ask you to join us is because I wanted to find out what it was like as a journalist to be assigned a story about Bitcoin. But you corrected me and said that you weren't assigned the story. So tell us how that happened.
Right. So it's actually hard to trace where exactly I heard about Bitcoin the first time. It was around, it was I subscribed to this tech newsletter called Launch, which is done by Jason Calacanis in Silicon Valley. And they did a big story about Bitcoin that was really sensational. And it was like, Bitcoin, the most dangerous person-to-person project that could destroy the world. And so, of course, I had to read that. And then I, read about it and all the time that, it's always a great story.
It's a soap opera.
So I've had all the blog posts, but yeah, this is the second big feature, that I did a significant amount of reporting on.
So this appeared in the print version?
This was in the paper, yeah.
Why don't you bring up my laptop and show?
I should have brought a copy of the paper.
Oh, well, we can see it here. There it is, full screen. So yeah, this is BetaBeat, as you can see, from the Observer. And you've got a lot of things on today's headline. Pony up haters, how 4chan gave birth to bronies. Yeah,
we've got a couple of funny features today. That story is about this group of 4chaners who are big fans of the show My Little Pony. It's kind of a fun read. And the other big story we have today is about this diet craze that is become popular among entrepreneurs in New York.
That's
in the tech scene.
The Body Electric?
Right.
The 4-Hour Body by Timothy Ferris.
That's also a really fun read. There's fun stories on there. Mine is actually probably the densest.
The most serious.
Yeah.
Oh, so those you didn't write all those. You wrote
industry.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the one you're in.
Totally. So this was the original idea of the story, and then it was just it was so early that it ended up being more of a Bitcoin explainer, and this is happening, and then there still hasn't been that much mainstream reporting on it, although there's been a lot. And I feel like it's still a ripe subject. And I pitched another Bitcoin story, which ran today, which was about the next phase of the Bitcoin market, which is this more sophisticated kind of derivatives trading, which is a big step for Bitcoin because it frees up liquidity in the market and makes it potentially make more sense for vendors to actually use it because they can kind of adjust for the volatility of the currency. And I was surprised that they said yes, because I thought they would say, no, that's too geeky. We can't run two geeky stories about this geeky thing
You're the one from
so close in a row.
The one about derivatives, the current one.
Yeah, the one today.
This is the second one. You mean you pitched this with, because you've been writing stories every day.
Right, so I've been blogging about it constantly because
okay.
I just have it in my news feed, and like there's so much drama.
Today's episode of The Bitcoin Show is brought to you by bit-pay.com and Mt. Gox, mtgox.com, and tradehill.com, and usgoldcoins.com, 1-800-HOT-COIN. Hello and welcome to The Bitcoin Show. This is episode 34, and what a week it has been. Today joining me is Adrianne Jeffries, who you probably recognize the name, maybe not the face, but Adrianne Jeffries is a reporter for the New York Observer.
Like everybody else, it's such a fantastic, like weird, cool, sticky phenomenon that I just couldn't stop reading about it. And then, some other just sources that I talk to on a regular basis were asking me about it, sort of like, what do you know about this? And so I got the feeling that there was some interest in it and I should write about it. So I pitched it, and I pitched it for the paper. So I do most of my writing at BetaBeat, which is a blog about the New York tech scene and about news of interest to the New York tech scene. So but then I also do some tech stories for the weekly paper, the weekly edition of the New York Observer. So I pitched this story for the paper because I thought it was interesting, because Wall Street obviously is of interest to everyone who lives in New York, and this had this is like the potential. It was like, is Wall Street finally going to be disrupted by the internet, like the way so many other industries have?
The record industry, and
the film, exactly. The newspaper